If you're a real estate investor and are wondering how to raise and leverage private money to make more profit on every deal, then you're in the right place. On Raising Private Money, we'll speak with new and seasoned investors to dissect their deals and extract the best tips and strategies to help you get the money, because the money comes first. Now here's your host, Jay Conner.
Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Josey. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Josey. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Josey, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing their badassery. We have with us Jay Conner, a seasoned real estate investor who's been transforming the industry since 2003. Early in his career, Jay relied heavily on traditional bank financing, complete with hefty down payments, origination fees, and personal guarantees. But when the 2008 market crash hit, his banker cut him off, forcing him to rethink everything he knew about financing deals. That's when Jay discovered the power of private money. Fast forward to today, Jay has perfected a repeatable system for raising millions in private funds, enabling him to achieve consistent 7-figure profits and work less than 10 hours a week. It's my pleasure to have him on the show, so welcome, Jay Conner.
Jen, thank you so much for inviting me to come along, talk about my favorite subject that I'm so passionate about, that being private money. And why am I so passionate about it? I'll tell you why. Because ever since I learned about private money in January of 2009, I've never missed out on a deal for not having the funding. I know what it feels like to miss out on deals, but I haven't missed out on a deal since 2009. And you know what I love? One of the reasons I love private money so much is because you're able to raise it and attract it without ever filling out applications, without ever having your credit pulled, and without ever having to ask anybody for money.
Wow. Well, I cannot wait for this interview because private money, I actually just lent out money like 2 or 3 days ago. It's been a hot minute since I've been a private money lender. So I need a good refresher. It's someone who I completely trust, but I'm so excited for this one. So how did you get involved in real estate way back in 2003?
Okay, well, I was raised in the mobile home business, and you being a North Carolinian, I bet you still see a few mobile homes on the countryside. Now, we were real fancy. We called them manufactured houses, but they were mobile homes. They started out as being called wobbly boxes and trailers way back in the day. And you know what's interesting, Jen? My dad, Wallace Conner, he's now 91 and a half years old, and he makes sure you know about the half. He's 91 and a half years old. He is building right now a 350 home development. He's halfway built out. And I told Dad, I said, don't you dare kick the bucket on me and leave all that mess behind. You got to clean this up before you go see Jesus. But anyway, my dad, Wallace Conner, he was the Conner Homes, Conner Corporation, Conner Mobile Homes, was the largest retailer of mobile homes in the nation.
Wow.
In the heyday. So I was raised with my dad in a family that we went about serving, helping people own affordable housing. Now, unfortunately, the demand is still there, but the financing is gone.
Yeah.
So in 2002 is when the entire industry fell out of favor with Wall Street. No more financing for the consumer to buy mobile homes, and people back then weren't walking around with $25,000 or $30,000 to buy a single wide. So we woke up one day, Jen, with $22 million of wholesale inventory
My
and
goodness.
no way to sell it. So we almost had to file bankruptcy, but we didn't. We were able to work out deals with our vendors. And so it's a whole lot more fun starting a business than it is shutting down a business, I assure you. It took us a year and a half to liquidate all that out. So that was 2003. I knew if I ever got out of mobile homes, I wanted to get into single family houses. And that's because 10 years earlier in 1993, dear friends of mine and my wife, Carol Joy, Craig and Kim, they lived in New Bern, North Carolina in 1993. They still live there now. And they wanted to build their house, but they did not have any seed money, didn't have any down payment money. Well, Kim's daddy lived down in Florida at the time, and he was a full-time real estate investor. And he says, I'll tell you what, Craig and Kim, I'll come to New Bern and we'll find a fixer-upper. He said, I'll buy it. You all do the sweat equity and fix it up. We'll flip it and sell it. You keep the profit to build your house to get it started. Well, they did that, and they pocketed over $30,000 in less than 90 days.
Wow.
And I went, wait a minute, there's something wrong with this picture. I'm busting my butt trying to make $3,000 on a single wide mobile home, and they made $30,000 in less than 90 days. I said, if I ever get out of the mobile home business, I know what I'm doing. 10 years later, the opportunity came along, and I said, okay, I am getting in single family houses. So that's how we started. Of course, back then, I really didn't know what I was doing. If you're listening to this show, for goodness sakes, don't make the stupid, idiotic mistake I did when I started out. I relied on my experience to be my own coach. Well, that was stupid. I didn't know what I didn't know. Single family houses are not mobile homes on a retail sales center. So my first 6 years, I tried to navigate this industry on my own, and it was okay, but my lands, Jen, I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars and not knowing what I was doing. And so my point is, if I'd had a mentor or a coach like Jen when I started, boy, wouldn't things have been different. But anyway, that's why I was involved and why I was interested to get in single family houses. And that's why I started this all the way back in 2003.
And we on the RAIN podcast are big believers in investing in you and learning from people who have already made those mistakes so you don't lose all that money. So we are big believers of that. So let's start diving into the hot topic here of private money. And I just want to know, how does it compare? You were touching on this, but how does it compare to traditional financing?
Ooh, doggies. Well, there's a lot of differences. By the way, if you don't know who said, woo, doggies, that was Jed Clampett on the Beverly Hillbillies. Anyway, so the difference is a big difference. I mean, there's 20 reasons why I love private money. I'm not going to cover all 20, but here's the big ones. First, let's differentiate what we're talking about. There's banks and mortgage companies, there's hard money lenders, and there's private lenders. So let's distinguish. So when I talk private money, I'm not talking hard money. So let's distinguish it real quick. You go to the local bank, you go to a mortgage company, the traditional way to borrow money, which I did the first 6 years, is I get on my hands and knees and I say, please fund my deal. And they make me pull my skirt up and show all my personal assets. And they pull my credit score and look at my financial statement and all that mess and do appraisals and all that. Well, you see, I did that the first 6 years, and it was okay until everything changed in January 2009. I'll tell that story if we have time. So you got the local bank. They make all the rules. They set the interest rate. They're the underwriter. The traditional way of borrowing money is everybody thinks whoever's got the money to loan out makes the rules. Not the case in this world of private money. So that's institutional money. Okay. Then you have hard money. So hard money is typically a broker that has gone out and raised private money from individuals to invest in their hard money lending fund. And then the hard money lender turns around and loans that out to real estate investors, charges origination fees, and et cetera. I'm not poo-pooing hard money lenders. Some of my best friends are hard money lenders. They use my techniques to go raise more money for their fund to loan out to us real estate investors. So with a hard money lender, as in contrast to the local bank or a mortgage lender, you're going to be able to close quicker, typically, with a hard money lender. They're still going to pull you credit, but you're still going to have to bring sizable down payments to the closing table. And their interest rates are pretty high. Right now, you're going to pay 12 to 14%, depending on who the hard money lender is. And they make the rules. They set the interest rate, right? Like an institutional lender or a bank. Then we have private money. Oh boy, oh boy. So private money is when you're doing business with an individual, a human being, just like you and me, that loans money out to us real estate investors, either from their liquid investment capital and or their retirement accounts. There's a conversation about self-directed IRAs. And so they're people that are interested in real estate, but they're looking for a high rate of return safely and securely, but they don't want to go negotiate deals. They don't want to go find deals. They don't want to oversee projects. They just want to sit back. Well, one reason I love private lenders is because I've been paying all my private lenders. I got 47 private lenders right now, loaning money on our deals, investing in our deals. I've been paying them, Jen, the same thing since February 2009, 8%. No points. 8%.
Wow.
No points. And people say, Jay, how in the world do you do that? No points, and your private lenders are ecstatically happy. I can tell you why. Here's what's interesting. Not one of my 47 private lenders ever heard of private money. They never heard of self-directed IRAs until I did what? Until I put on my teacher hat, my private money teacher hat, and I started teaching people in my own network what private money is, what self-directed IRAs are. And as a result, I've never asked anybody for money. I've never pitched a deal in my life. And they say, Jay, how in the world do you get your deals funded and you never pitch a deal? Well, here's the secret sauce. And I'm going to turn it back to you, Jen. Here's the secret sauce. You see, the worst time to be raising private money is when you need it for a deal.
That's
for goodness sakes. Here's a writer downer. Desperation has a smell to it. Desperation's got a smell to it, right? So how do we fix that? How do we fix that? Oh boy, Jen's writing that one down right there. How do we fix that? Here's the answer. Here's the magic. We separate the conversations. Listen, this is critical. Critical. We separate the conversations between teaching people in your own market. I mean, people in your cell phone, you go to church with them, you play golf with them, you see them regularly, wherever you see people regularly, you know, that trust and credibility and likability meter is already high. You got the relationship with these people. So we teach them about this world of private money, either one-on-one, or you can do a private lender luncheon. I mean, it takes the same amount of time to teach the program to 20 people as it does one. I've raised $969,000 in new private money, just one luncheon by teaching, but by having no deal attached to it. And you see, none of my private lenders ever heard of this world until I taught them and about self-directed IRAs and how they can use their retirement funds to earn either tax-free or tax-deferred unlimited money per year. So you teach. Now, I don't have to ask them if they're interested. They're going to run me down because look, right now, I just checked this out, Jen. Last week, the national average in a savings account in the local bank is less than 0.25%.
Yep.
Now, you can put your money in a CD and you can get 3%. A year ago, you could have gotten 5%, and it's coming down pretty quickly. But you come along and get 8%, well, that's a whole lot more money. Anyway, so I teach them the program, and they tell me how much they got to work with, how much they want to start with. If they have retirement funds and they're not happy with those, I'll introduce them to the rep that I recommend at a self-directed IRA company. They'll move their money over with no tax consequences, and they're ready to go. Now, I'm going to share right now the exact script as to how I get my deals funded by my private lenders, and I never ask for money. So, Jen, I know you'll play along with me. Let's hypothetically suppose that you're one of my new private lenders. And let's hypothetically suppose we've known each other for a while. We go to church together or whatever. And so I taught you about this opportunity in this world of private money. Now, let's also suppose that you said, well, I'm interested in that, in the self-directed IRA thing. Let's suppose you had $150,000 with a previous employer in a 401k, and you're not happy with what it's doing. You're sick and tired of the volatility of the stock market and all that. So I introduced you to my self-directed IRA representative that I recommend. And you liked them, and so you moved a couple of weeks ago that $150,000 to the self-directed IRA company. And now you're ready to earn money on that retirement funds. So you've told me, Jay, I'm ready. Let's go. I said, okay. So let's say I call you up in about a week. I'm now going to give the script to what I call the good news phone call. The good news phone call. So I dial you up and you answer the phone and we have a little chit chat. Here's the script. I say, Jen, I've got great news for you. I can now put your money to work. You see, I've got a house in Newport under contract with an after repaired value of $200,000. Now, the funding required for the deal matches up to what you've got in your IRA, $150,000. And so the closing is going to be next Friday. I'll need for you to wire your funds from your self-directed IRA account to my real estate attorney's trust account by next Thursday. And I'm going to have my real estate attorney email you the wiring instructions. That's the end of the conversation. Now let's unpack. Let's unpack why Jen is ecstatic that I gave her the good news phone call. Number one, she moved her money over to the self-directed IRA company at my recommendation. She loves the program, so she's moved her money over, and she trusted me. I introduced her to the self-directed IRA company, so she's moved her money over. She's not earning any money until I put her money to work.
Yep.
Jen, so I am ethically bound to invest Jen's money because she moved it over there to the self-directed IRA company. Secondly, Jen knows I'm not going to bring a deal for her to fund unless it matches the criteria of the program that I already taught her. For example, I told her the after repaired value is $200,000. I told her the funding required is $150,000. That matches the program. I'm not going to have her invest more than 75% of the after repaired value. I didn't say 75% of the purchase price. I bought it for $100,000. That's why I'm bringing home a check for $50,000 and taking none of my own money to the closing table. My real estate attorney's check that I pick up after closing is called excess cash to close. And I love me some excess cash. So unpacking that, the most stupid question I could have asked Jen was, do you want to fund the deal? Of course she wants to fund the deal because her money is just sitting there until I put her to work. Bottom line, separate conversations. Never talk about a deal you're looking to get funded in that initial conversation. First, teach. Share the opportunity, how it works, and then you come back with the good news phone call.
I love that you call it the good news, and I have heard that from others as well, and that is such a great strategy. And
where do you think they got it?
My young buck over there on my East Coast, Mr. Connor, with it. By the way, it's CONNER, listeners. I got
thank you.
It going OR at the end. But you started talking about something here, and that excess cash to close. And in your write-up that we get prior to the interview, you talk about cashing 3 big checks on every deal. So can you break that down, what those 3 checks are and how they work? I think we already heard the first one.
It actually can be more than 3, There's going to be a minimum of 2 and then maybe more. So here's how it works. Your first check, as I just explained, is when you buy. Now here's a double check. Here's another writer downer. When you're paying all cash with private money on a deal, which by the way, I'm a pretty good negotiator, but only 13% of all them for sale by owners will sell to me creatively, subject to the existing note or seller finance, and the other 87% require all the cash. So anyway, I digress. When you buy a property, here is a double check. If renovation is required, if there's distress and a renovation or rehab is required on that single family house, here's the writer downer, if you cannot bring home a big check when you buy, you're paying too much for the house. You're paying too much for the house if you can't bring home a check, following the criteria of how I do it, right? So you're going to get a big check when you buy. Some people ask me, they say, Jay, what's the quickest way to get a lot of money in my checking account in real estate? Private money.
Yep.
Because you're going to bring home a big check, right? And if you can't of course, the majority of that big check you're bringing home is for the renovations, for the rehab. But you should have some extra equity in there as well that you are bringing home when you buy. I mean, it's like, who wants to get paid to buy houses, right? So the second check that you can get is if, it's a big IF, if you are selling the house on lease purchase or rent to own. So if you're selling it on rent to own or lease purchase, your second check is collecting from your rent to own buyer what we call a large non-refundable lease option deposit. The legal term is actually an option fee. They're paying you a fee for the option, not the obligation, but the option to buy that property within a certain length of time at a predetermined price. Now, if they don't cash you out, you can sell it again on lease purchase and get another non-refundable option fee. But then eventually, whenever you cash out the house and you actually transfer title and ownership, that's when you get your final check, which is the difference between what you sell it for, less realtor fees if you're putting it in the multiple listing service like I do, less what you still owe the private lender or the private lenders, which would be your original principal loan amount. We don't pay principal and interest payments. We either just let the interest accrue if we're doing a flip, or if we're selling it on lease purchase, if I got money coming in per month, I want money going out per month, cash flow. So we only pay interest and not principal and interest to our private lenders because that's a win for them and it's a win for us. If I pay principal and interest payments, they don't have all their money invested. I'm paying it down and they don't earn as much money. And interest-only payments are smaller and helps my cash flow. So the interest-only part of all this is a win for all parties.
Okay, so break this down for me a little bit further. So you are purchasing a property, say it's $100,000. You are borrowing $150,000. We're going to use the same example, and it's a 200,000 ARV. And you do the renovations, and then you get someone to do the lease option, and they get that very hefty, not down payment. What was the term you said?
Yeah, non-refundable lease option deposit or option fee. Yeah.
And so what is the time frame of them actually purchasing the house from you, the people who have just moved in and given you that non-refundable deposit?
Sure. So I give them 12 months, and I'm a little different, Jen. You got a lot of real estate investors out there, no disrespect, but you got a lot of real estate investors out there. I mean, you're in the world, you know a lot of them, that leave it to the lease purchase buyer or the rent to own buyer to their own devices to get their credit cleaned up and cash out. The fact of the matter is less than 5% ever will. Wow. If you leave them to their own devices. I don't do that. I force them into credit repair. I mean, these people are wanting to own a property, so I feel obligated to help them own. So I force them in credit repair, and it is a babysitting business, is what it is. So we hold their hand, we make sure the disputes are sent into the credit repair company that we use. That's why 80% of our lease purchase buyers actually cash out and own, because we force them to do it. Some real estate investors would say that's pretty stupid, Jay, because when you sell that house, your earning potential is gone because you've sold it. Well, that's okay. I'm in a small market. My total market's only 40,000 people. How much goodwill do you think I've gotten over the years by helping all those people?
Right.
81% of people can't even go to the local bank and get a mortgage today. But now we got a pathway and a way that people can own a home that would love to own a home. So, sorry, I got on my soapbox about selling on lease purchase.
No, so then they are just refinancing it into their own name, or are they paying it off?
Well, when we sell on lease, that's a good question. When we sell on lease purchase or rent to own, that's one and the same thing, just different words. We're not transferring title or ownership. So this is not owner financing or seller financing with me being the bank. We tell them when we're sitting down at the closing table, and my real estate attorney handles it, we say, for all practical purposes, this is your house. You can paint the walls. You can do anything you want to. You can't do anything structural. Can't do anything structural to the house, but cosmetic, have at it, whatever you want to do. And then we say, and we're going to transfer ownership and title and deed when you are ready for a mortgage. So while they're living in the house, they're paying us rent for the house, and that non-refundable lease option deposit or fee that they paid us up front. Say, for example, on a $200,000 house, I'm going to collect at least a $10,000 non-refundable lease option deposit. So if and when they get ready for a mortgage, I'm going to apply that $10,000 to their closing cost, to their down payment, to their purchase price. If they move out, it's non-refundable. And then it's at that point, I bring it in as income on the balance sheet as a forfeited deposit, and then I can go sell it again. So that's a 30,000-foot, 5-minute seminar on rent-to-own lease purchase.
All right. So now let's talk about your lender. So your private money lender, they lend you the $150,000 for this property, and they are getting interest-only payments, or is it a balloon payment at the end?
It depends on if it's a flip or if we're selling it on rent-to-own.
I'm sticking to this rent to own because I love this whole idea. I'm digging deep into this, Jay. So
sure. So if we're selling it on rent to own, they are receiving monthly interest payments.
Okay.
I don't want interest to accrue when I've got monthly income coming in. So I want that positive cash flow between, of course, you know what rents have done the last 2 years here in North Carolina and the whole nation. It's crazy. We got a house here in Morehead City I'm thinking of specifically. And that rent-to-own buyer moved in 2019, for goodness sakes. They just paid me an additional $10,000 non-refundable lease option deposit to just buy one more year for them to get ready, whatever. So they pay a monthly rent.
Okay.
By the way, another little seminar here. I don't set the rent. The market does. Isn't that unconventional? So I put a house out there on the market, and we say, what's the most you can pay per month? Well, what's the rent? The rent is what somebody can pay the most per month, because whoever can pay the most per month and give me the most down is going to be the winner of this home. Anyway, I digress again. So they're paying me a monthly rent. And here in North Carolina, you got to have separate documentation. The option agreement has got to be mutually exclusive from the rental agreement. So we have the North Carolina Residential Rental Agreement that's published by the Realtor Association. It's pretty good. I just use it. And then we have the option agreement, to where after 30 days, here's why I love selling on lease purchase, all the repairs are on the tenant buyer. All the repairs after 30 days. Now, the first 30 days, they tell me how do we get off on this, Jen? This ain't got nothing to do hardly with private money. But anyway, the first 30 days.
I'm getting back to the private money lender. I'm getting back to it.
You're getting back. But anyway, you see, you took me down this trail and got me all excited. But anyway, so they're making me a monthly payment. And of course, I'm paying a lesser payment per month to my private lender. I've got positive cash flow. And so that's the way that works. And of course, the private lender does not get paid off until we're selling the house and cashing out.
That's where I was leading. So if I was your private money lender, which you educated me, you put on your prop. I love people who bring props to podcasts here. You had your teacher hat on. You taught me to transfer my money from a 403B, by the way, because I'm a former school teacher, into a self-directed IRA. And you gave me that great news phone call and you said, I have this deal for you. So I lend you the $150,000. What is the length that from me transferring that money to you from that self-directed IRA for me to get my principal back? What is the typical time frame in the situation, the specific situation we are discussing here?
So if you took that 403B money from being a former teacher and you moved it over to a self-directed IRA company, and now you're investing that money with me, loaning me that money, then I'm going to set that note up on 5 years. Why 5 years? Typically, I'm not going to use it for 5 years. But why 5 years? Because all the returns all the interest that your self-directed IRA account is earning, it's going to your account. It's not going to you.
Yep.
It's not going to, it's going to that account. Therefore, you're not looking for the money to live off of anyway. Now, in contrast to that, if you were using investment capital, just liquid funds and not retirement funds, then I would set that note up on 2 years instead of 5 years because you might want that back. But here's reality. None of my private lenders ever want their money back because when they get their money back, they're not earning any money. That's right. They know they can't put it anywhere else to get these kind of rates of return safely and securely. In fact, when I'll have a new private lender come on and we'll do a deal and I call them up with not the good news phone call, but it's really a sad news phone call. And I call them up and I say, well, we're cashing out this house at 123 Main Street and you're going to be receiving a payoff check for $150,000 for principal from a real estate attorney that's representing the buyer. And we're going to send you the interim interest that you haven't earned. And so I just don't want you to be surprised when you have a $150,000 check show up in your post office box. And then, inevitably, quote unquote, Jay, can't you just keep the money? And the answer is no, I cannot keep the money unless it is secured by real estate. So you see, I don't borrow any unsecured money. I can legally, but we back all those promissory notes and collateralize those notes with the real estate by using a deed of trust here in North Carolina. Most states call it a mortgage. And we back that note by the deed of trust to protect the private lender. A lot of times new investors will say, well, Jay, who is going to loan me money and I've never done a deal in my life? Here's the answer to that question. If you don't pay your private lender, the property does. What's that mean? That means since you're going to give them a deed of trust and collateralize the note, if you don't pay them, they get the property. And actually, because it's a conservative loan to value, they could make more money than the interest you would pay them. But the truth of the matter is they don't want the property. That's why they're investing with you, right? And by the way, your private lenders really are not investing in your deals. They are investing in you.
Yes. Agreed. And thank you for saying that. So I'm curious because, like I said, I just lent some money to a fellow investor friend, but I lent it at 10%. What if your people, like, how do you keep them at the 8% level? Because I could get 12 to even 14% sometimes if you compare it to, as you were mentioning, hard money lenders, the rates that they are getting. So how do you keep them happy at that 8%?
Well, I keep them happy, first of all, because I always pay them early. So I've got private lenders that are elderly, so they are counting on that monthly income. So we do what we say. And over the years, I'm thinking of one private lender that lives up in the mountains in Tennessee. I got private lenders in 10 different states. That's another thing. You don't have to be doing business in your own backyard. I mean, your private lenders can be anywhere, and there's no limit to the number of private lenders you can have because we're not regulated by the Commissioner of Banks. But I had a phone call, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. And I mean, they're still just happy they can be. They're still private lenders with me now. And they said, well, Jay, rates are going up. When are you going up on rates? I said, well, I'm not going up on rates. Why aren't you going up on rates? Because I got more money than I can use. If you want your money back, let me send you a check and I'll put some of my other private lenders' money to work. Secondly, they don't want 3% or 4% or whatever in a local CD. I mean, and one additional answer I gave him, I said, look, what I do is I compare what I can pay my private lenders and then I can contrast that to what they can get in the local bank. So if you like 3% better than 8%, have at it.
Well said. And I have a lender who I'm specifically thinking of as well, who kept wanting more and more interest. And I said, I can't afford you anymore. And now I know they are having trouble finding investors to invest with them because they did get a little greedy. But anyway, I want to change directions here because my listeners are typically newer investors, and you were just briefly touching on this, but what is the best way to find private lenders for real estate investing? And more importantly, what are some red flags to avoid?
Excellent question. So first, let's start with the first part of that. Now, remind me of the red flags because I might forget it.
Okay.
But the first part, where do you find these people? There are 3 categories of people where you find these private lenders. The first category is what I call your warm market. Those are your connections. They're in your cell phone, your social media. You go to church with them. You play golf, whatever. You've got, I call it relationship capital. So you've already got some kind of relationship with these people. So that's the first category. Now, if you're going to scale your business and you really want to get more private lenders, eventually, depending on the size of your network, you're going to run out of connections. I mean, you're going to burn through your list of inviting them to your private lender luncheon or talking with them about private money. By the way, too bad I didn't have time to tell the story about another way that I got my very first private lender without ever asking for money. That might be part 2 on another show. I don't know. So first category, warm market. Second category, since if you're going to scale, you're going to run out of that after a while. The second category is what I call your expanded warm market. So I teach at my live events and et cetera. I teach how to grow your network very, very quickly because we all know there's a direct correlation between your network and your net worth, of course. Well, let me just give you a big tip right now. How can you explode your network overnight? I can tell you. BNI, which stands for Business Networking International, even little old Morehead City, North Carolina, started a BNI back in 2007. And the way BNI works is they truly only allow one realtor, one real estate investor, one attorney, one electrician, one HVAC, one general contractor, and one essential oil sales lady, if you know what I'm getting at. So, BNI, the way it works is your fellow members of the local chapter, they are endorsing you, and they're bringing people to you that you want to get in front of. So, you take on the real estate investor chair. I promise you, you will be the only real estate investor that's ever asked, probably, to join BNI. And so anyway, you take on the BNI, or the real estate investor chair, and you just tell your fellow members, you have 60 or 90 seconds every week to remind them that, hey, you pay high rates of return safely and securely, and you want to get in front of people who are looking for higher rates, or you want to get in front of people that are retiring or have retirement accounts, and they refer these people to you. I've gotten millions of dollars in private money just from being active in BNI. The third category of where you find private lenders are existing private lenders. Well, not everybody knows a Jen Josey. So how do you find an existing private lender? Well, Here's one of the easiest ways to find them, and that is go to networking events, either virtually or in person, of self-directed IRA companies. Here's what's interesting. Over 70% of account holders in self-directed IRA companies want to be a private lender. They want to loan you money because they don't want to negotiate deals and oversee deals. They just want to get high rates of return safely and securely, totally passively. So, self-directed IRA companies, networking events, 70% of them people are looking for you. However, let's be totally transparent. When you do that, you're not putting on your teacher hat. Because them people already know what private money is. They're like Jen Josey. They know what private money is. So now they're going to have a negotiation conversation.
Yep.
I don't want to have a negotiation conversation, right? I make the rules. Traditionally, whoever's got the money makes the rules. They underwrite the deals. But in this world of being a teacher and sharing this opportunity with people that's never heard about it, you are your own underwriter. And
I
you
love
make
that.
rules.
And I love that you brought up BNI because after I was a teacher, for a hot second, I was in the insurance industry, health insurance industry, and I joined a BNI for that. And I didn't even think of going back as a real estate investor. So that is a great nugget, Jay. Thank you for that one.
Some early Monday mornings and Thursday mornings, and I guarantee you'll learn more about private money, and we'll have a party.
So do you do video for your podcasts?
Yes, we're YouTube, Facebook live stream, LinkedIn live stream on my LinkedIn. That's another way to connect with me, Jay Connor, on LinkedIn as well. So, it's hard to hide.
But you didn't do video in the beginning. I'm asking this because I was like legit podcast. I'm in my 5th season, so it's rare to hear anyone go beyond 5. And for you to do it twice a week, I mean, that's a lot of talking. So I'm very, very impressed, Jay. Yeah. But I stuck strong. I didn't want to do the video for the longest time, and now I'm finally releasing everything on YouTube as well. But did you do video from the beginning?
Yes, we did video from the beginning. Yeah, we did video from the beginning. And so what we do is we go live on YouTube and Facebook live stream and LinkedIn every Tuesday afternoon, 2 shows back to back from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Tuesday afternoons. And that's live. I mean, that's raw and live. And then my producer, we edit that and then we release it. We're typically about a month out, and we release it on all the podcast platforms, audio only.
Wonderful. And when is your conference that you are hosting?
Well, we do it February, June, and October.
Okay.
So the next one that's coming up is the last week of June 25th, 26th, and 27th. And again, just get the book. Let me send this book to you, and you'll get all the information about the live event, the Private Money Conference. I don't know another event like it. I mean, I have private lenders come to the event for you to network with, and we go in the field on a real bus renovation tour, looking at real houses that I'm doing and my team is doing. I teach how to run this business in less than 10 hours a week, how never to get stuck selling a house, how to sell any house in 3 days or less. And I have self-directed IRA company come, and you meet my interior designer that's been with us for 20 years. You meet my general contractors. You meet my realtor. Oh, one session I do is with my real estate attorney, how I get all my title searches done in less than 24 hours for free. So we have a lot of fun. And we have an amazing VIP reception on Thursday evening down at the private beach club, the Dunes Club at Atlantic Beach. That's on Thursday evening. So, yeah, that's the live event.
Well, very cool, Jay. I could talk to you all day, but we are going to move into the second part of the podcast here, which is what makes Jay Connor, ER, a badass. And I use the acronym BADASS, and the first letter is B for book. What's a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
Oh, my word. So it's the people you meet and the books you read that will take you and continue to grow you personally. And so there's so many books I could share. So I'll share the book that changed my life when I was 24 years old. I was in a very, very bad place. very, very dark, bad place when I was 24 years old. And I woke up one day and I said, there's got to be a better way. And so I went to the personal development section in the bookstore and I bought Og Mandino's book titled University of Success.
Oh.
University of Success. It's still in print. It changed my life.
Nice. I'm going to have to look that one up. All right. The first A in Badass is for advice. You have given us an incredible amount of amazing advice, but I'm curious, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Oh, my word. Well, I've received a lot of good advice. Boy, just one. Okay, I'll choose one. This advice was given to me years ago by the legendary godfather of real estate. His name is Ron LeGrand from Jacksonville, Florida. And I'll never forget the day he said, Jay, what other people think about you is none of your business.
I love that. And great guy. All right. The D in Badass is for drive. What drives you to be successful?
A fear of failure.
Oof. That is a good one.
So what drives me to be successful, really, that's what it started out as, right? It started out as fear of failure. That's what drove me years ago. But really what drives me now is impact. Impact is what drives me.
Well, Jay, I could talk to you all day, and I'm going to have to drive out to Morehead City. By the way, is it Sanitary Fish Market? Is that still?
Yeah, the Sanitary Fish Market and Restaurant, Morehead City waterfront. It's been there over 80 years.
And everything's fried there because I was like, oh, I can't eat anything here. But anyway.
No, you can get it steamed and now you can get it grilled. Yes.
Well, I remember when I first started teaching in Raleigh a couple years ago, and all the kids were wearing the Sanitary Fish Market t-shirts. And I'm like, what is this place? And I just drove out there just to make sure I got the shirt so I could be cool with the kids. But anyway. The final S in Badass J is success. What does success mean to Jay Connor, ER?
Yeah, thank you for the ER. So success to me is, are you living your life in alignment with your core values? Mm. So do you know what your core values are?
That's the first step. That's an activity I do in my mastermind because many people, they're just flying by the seat of their pants. So determining your core values is huge. So I'm sorry, keep going. Yes.
No, that's it. And so, there's this thing called cognizant dissonance. And what cognizant dissonance is it's when the devil and Jesus are fighting with you on either side of your shoulder. And are you living out part of your life that's not in alignment with your core values? And so that is success. A synonym for me for success is I'm just pure T happy no matter what's going on in my life. I'm able to rejoice in the midst of everything because my God and my Creator is holding it all together anyway. So success is just being able to rejoice and being full of joy no matter what's going on.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your joy today. And this has been a fabulous interview. And one more time, how do the listeners find you?
Yes, go to jayconner.com/book. I'll send you the book. I'll send you tickets to the Private Money Conference.
Well, this has been a blast, Jay. Thank you so much for being here today.
Jen, thank you so much for having me, and God bless you, and have a joyous rest of your day.
Well, thank you so much, and that is all. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Now, go out there and share your badassery, and don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josey by visiting therealjenjosey.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.
Are you feeling inspired by the knowledge you gained in this episode? Then head over to jconner.com/moneyguide. That's jconner.com/moneyguide and download your free guide that shares 7 reasons why private money will skyrocket your real estate investing business right now. Again, that's jconner.com/moneyguide to get your free guide. We'll see you next time on Raising Private Money with Jay Conner.